How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Zim's Beer Review. I'm your host, Garrett Zimmer. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be tuning in, whether you're following on YouTube live stream or on Twitch, or if you're downloading wherever podcasts are found. Thanks for following. Welcome to episode number 24. We have another beer from a brewery that I've already reviewed today, or not today, that I've reviewed on this podcast before. We have another beer from Elysian Brewing Company out of Seattle, Washington. Elysian Brewing was actually my very first episode. Episode 1 was the Elysian Space Dust IPA because it was one of my favorite beers. And I don't know if they just came out with this, but they just came out with it in my area, or at least at my local liquor store. I had never seen this beer before. It's called the Dayglow IPA. Similar. I'm expecting something similar because they're both IPAs. They're both from Elysian, but I don't know how this one might be different. They claim on the bottle here that Dayglow IPA crashes the party with juicy beats of hops. So I guess we shall see how it stacks up against the Space Dust. Given the name Dayglow, kind of the logo on there, if you can look, it's really like not retro, but like summery 80s style almost. There's a tiger on there with lasers shooting out of his eyes. If you're following the audio only version of this podcast, I highly recommend you check out the Elysian Dayglow IPA, if nothing else, just for the label. I want this on a t-shirt. That looks awesome. This is literally a tiger with laser beams shooting out of his eyes. Fantastic. Dr. Evil would be proud. So we're going to go ahead and try this one and compare it to... It's not a battle of the beers. Don't get ahead of yourself. But we're going to compare it to the Space Dust by the same brewery. So we're going to open it up with our handy dandy Shaver Wood bottle opener, available at Shaver Wood Instagram. Okay, here we go. Let's get a glass. See how this looks. Really hazy on the first pour. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. Yeah, it's clearing up. Really deep in gold color, though. That's deeper gold than the Space Dust was. That's for sure. But it's really bright. It looks like a summer beer. Maybe that's my mind playing tricks on me because of how the bottle looks. I want to think that's what it is. It does smell light, but I know that it's an IPA, so it's going to be hoppy, and it's also 7.4% alcohol by volume, which is pretty high. I'd say it's slightly above average for an IPA, but that's, if I remember correctly, I still think that's like 2% less than the Space Dust. I think Space Dust is in the 9%. So this one might be a little bit more subdued on the alcohol, but I think it might make up for it in flavor. It smells really sweet, so it smells like a wheat beer, honestly, like a Blue Moon, or like a Hef, Shock Top, those wheat style beers. That's kind of what it smells like, but it's an IPA, so it might be like a really hoppy wheat beer. All right, let's give it a try. Pretty hoppy. I'm getting tastes of, like, the first thing I tasted was pineapple, to be honest. Really upfront pineapple flavor. I don't smell that, but I taste it. It smells fruity. It smells light and airy, like a summer beer, but I don't smell the pineapple, but I definitely taste it. It's actually really good tasting IPA. It's hoppier than a wheat beer. Don't know if I would say this is a straight IPA. After it smelling and tasting a little bit like a wheat beer and having that pineapple flavor, this I would personally classify this more in the hoppy wheat beer rather than an IPA, simply because I expect an IPA to maybe have a little bit more hops than this. It's really good, though. The pineapple flavor is like really prominent. And I've never had that in a beer before, which it's kind of a cool flavor. I don't know how they did that. I don't think they added pineapple to the brew process in any way. I think they probably achieved that with just hops and different, like a blend of different Citra hops, maybe Mosaic hops, maybe Cascade hops, really fruity style flavors in those. It's a good beer. So while I drink on this, I'm going to let you know a little bit more about Elysian. If you listen to episode 1, Space Dust IPA, you're going to be familiar with Elysian. They're out of Seattle, Washington. They were founded in 1995 in Seattle. Doing a little bit of research on them, a little bit more in depth than I think I did previously. Found out a little bit more information to let you guys know about. And I tried to pick on things that kind of go through their history as well as things that I found interesting, and maybe to give you a little bit of insight on some things. So from what I can tell, it looks like they have about 11 beers available year round that you can buy in varying styles. So of the 11, 7 of them are available in cans and bottles, and 4 of them are available on draft only. Excuse me. If you want to know more about them, because there's more beers that I'm going to let you know about. If you want to know more about these beers and which ones they are, I'm going to put a link to their website in the description of this podcast, in this video. I think it is elysianbrewing.com/beers. That'll take you right to their page. I'll point you in that direction if you want to know what is available when. In this short form podcast, I'm not going to go through what is available where and when. But 11 of them are available year round. 7 in cans and bottles, 4 on draft only. They also have 4 seasonal beers. This is not included in that 11. They have 4 seasonal beers, 1 for each season, winter, spring, summer, fall. And they have 3 pumpkin beers that are separate from those seasonal beers that they release between September and October-ish. They'll release those. I'm excited for those. If you listen to the podcast, you know I really like pumpkin beers. Not a lot of people do. Or I should say not a lot of people. I should say it's really split. People either love pumpkin beers or they hate pumpkin beers. There's nobody that's like, oh yeah, they're all right. I love them, but other people are like, can't stand them. I'm excited to see what they have. I've had I've had one of their pumpkin beers in the past. I think it was called the Night Owl, and it was pretty good. It was a good pumpkin beer, but according to their website, they plan on having 3 different pumpkin beers this year. So I'll have to keep an eye out for that. In addition to those seasonal and pumpkin beers, they also have 8 single releases that they do small batch, randomly, no scheduled time frame, and some of them they don't even do anymore. I know they've done some one-off beers. They teamed with, I think, Fort Collins, New Belgium on a beer. They've teamed with a couple charities in Seattle on some beers. So that would be categorized in the single release. So they have they started their brew house in an arcade in Seattle, actually. So they opened in 1995. They were in their brew house inside of an arcade in Seattle from 97 to 2002, I believe. And then in 2003, they opened up their pub and restaurant. Their brewery has their beers that they make at their brewery. They won a couple awards for them. Not the beers themselves, but the beers that they make earned Elysian Brewing the Large Brew Pub of the Year award. That is a pretty prestigious award given away at the Great American Beer Festival. They won that award in 1999, 2003, and 2004. So now we're only 9 years into their existence, and they've won 3 massive awards. And then 2006, they opened up what they call Elysian Fields. It's near CenturyLink Field. If any sports fans are listening, CenturyLink Field is where the Seattle Seahawks play football. So they're probably pretty busy on game days, I would assume. So they opened that in 2006. 2011, they opened up a massive production location, like in the tens of thousands of square feet But there's no restaurant there. There's no bar, just production only. That was opened in 2011. In 2015, they announced that they were being sold to Anheuser-Busch, and that came with a little bit of backlash from fans of their beer, mainly because, and I had to do a little bit of research on this to learn more about it. So the Brewers Association is a pretty big, take a guess, association regarding brewing. Crazy, right? In 2015, they announced that they were being sold to Anheuser-Busch, and not only that, but they were selling over 25% of their company to them. And because of that, the Brewers Association does not recognize Elysian as a craft brewery anymore, because in order for that to happen, you have to be owned, less than 25% of your company has to be owned by a large distributor, such as Anheuser-Busch. And since they sold over that amount, they are not classified as a craft brewery technically, but the beers they're making are 100% craft beers. I don't think they have a lot of, I'm not sure what the word would be. I don't think Anheuser-Busch has their hand in what Elysian is doing as much as people think that being sold to a big company means. I still think they have a lot of freedom to do what they want. It just really helps open up distribution. It helps open up advertising. There's a lot of benefits to be owned by a large manufacturer like that. And if you can get a deal where you can keep doing what you want to do and not have them telling you, no, you can't do this, or you need to release this beer, or you need to do this, change this. If you can do what you want to do, how you want to do it, yet still have the backing by a large manufacturer, I think that's the way to go. Especially now, there's so many craft breweries out there. Just do a quick Google search for craft breweries in your location. There's a couple states that people think about when they think about craft brewing, but it is exploded everywhere. I mean, I'm in Wyoming, and we have less people than some cities do in different states in our entire state. And we still have tons of breweries here. It's I don't want to say it's a fad, but it is definitely exploding. The craft brew scene is getting huge, super popular. So if you can have the backing from a large distributor to help set you apart or get you that leg up in advertising or whatever it may be. Oh, sorry, chair just broke. If you can get that backing by them to get that extra advertising, I think that's huge. It's only going to benefit you. And if you can team that up with still having the freedom to do what you want, I think more power to you. Overall, yeah, this is a really solid IPA. I don't know if I like it more than the Space Dust. Although it is, maybe when it comes to be summertime, I might choose this over the Space Dust. It is lighter. It's less alcohol content. I could drink a couple of these. It's fruity. It's light. Overall, a really solid IPA. Highly recommend it. Anything Elysian does, I like their beers. If you want to know where they distribute to or if they're available near you, check out their website. It's elysianbrewing.com. They have a beer locator on their website, and you can see where they're available. So anyways, thanks for tuning in. Keep an eye out for another episode coming soon. And not to tease too much, but I have an announcement coming hopefully within the next week or so. Still waiting on a couple things to fall into place, but a big announcement. You're not going to want to miss some upcoming episodes, and you might have a chance to win some stuff. So keeping your eye out. Anyways, thanks for tuning in for another episode, and until next time, happy drinking.